storms. That's the last thing you want to do at night is really get caught in one of these things. And we're looking at Worcester right about now down to Fredericksburg. You're seeing these storms barrel through here. So just a heads up there, they're moving to the east over towards Orrville, over towards Milton, Tuscarawas, Lawrence, Bethlehem. As a matter of fact, while I'm calling those out, there's a severe thunderstorm warning for those very areas. And that's why, because this storm is very strong and severe with the very gusty winds that we're seeing reported with these storms. The threat here again for Holmes, Stark, Summit, and Wayne counties into 1245 are the really gusty winds. There's the hail threat too. We've had reports of hail with some of these storms, especially these storms that moved in the southern area of our state earlier this afternoon. We're talking about quarter size or larger hail with these storms. So that can do damage to your vehicles, that can do damage to windows. So the hail threat is also something that we're watching, but it's a lower threat. Thankfully, that's a lower threat. But we're watching right now the tornado threat for Holmes County being the biggest, and then everybody else, it's the straight line wind threat of 60, 65, 70 plus mile per hour winds. And you think about it, a 75 mile an hour wind gust, that is hurricane force wind gusts. Hurricane force wind gusts start at 74 miles per hour. And we're looking at 65 mile an hour for an EF0 tornado. So these straight line wind gusts can do just as much damage as a weak hurricane or tornado. And so when these are blowing through, you certainly don't want to be caught with any flying projectiles around with these storms. All right, let's move a little further south and continue to track these storms. We're looking at, again, Millersburg, Glenmont, Walnut Creek. This is that tornadically warned storm moving through Holmes County. So a heads up, it's still moving. Last time I checked, I didn't see a very strong couplet, but I did see a couplet nonetheless. Again, that couplet is the rotating winds that are close to each other. That gives us an idea on radar when we look at the winds in a storm that, all right, there is some spin to this storm. And so I did see that. But what I did not see is the National Weather Service allowing that to expire. We head a little further south, and that's when we start to get into the Columbus area. And so we're really looking at, in Northeast Ohio proper, is this severe thunderstorm warning that's moving through Worcester and Congress and Salt Creek. That's headed towards Milton and Dalton, and then it's going to head over towards Canton. And then just to the south of that in Tuscarawas County, severe thunderstorm warning there too, and then into Carroll County. But the tornado warning that we're looking at is just to the west of that in Holmes County. And that's hopefully will be allowed to expire. I'm going to try and get another check on that to see if the storm relative velocity is shaping up to show us that we're still seeing a couplet there. And I'm not seeing anything particularly strong with that one. Not seeing that couplet there as strong as before. So we'll see if the National Weather Service will allow that to expire either at 12:15 like it's originally supposed to, or if they will continue that. So we'll just keep an eye on that. Now, once that tornado warning expires, we'll hop back off air. And we'll just continue to monitor these straight line winds. But right now it's really the tornado threat for Holmes County that we're watching. And I'm just looking at some other information here just to see what the National Weather Service is pushing our way to as far as storm reports. And I'm not necessarily seeing anything other than Ashland County with the widespread power outages and some trees down and limbs down. Not seeing anything other than that, thankfully. Thankfully, I mean, this would be great if all we reported on was just some limbs down and some power outages and that's it. But unfortunately, sometimes it happens a little bit more than that. So we'll continue to look at these here, the storm tracks. You may wonder what those red things are. This is just our system tracking the storms and giving us an idea of what trajectory where these storms are headed. And so the general track is these storms are headed to the south and to the east. And once we get rid of that, there is some more backbuilding behind it here in the central Michigan. And that's why the threat continues at least until 3 o'clock in the morning. Maybe allow for the atmosphere to get worked over. And so once these storms try and dive southward into Ohio, they lose a little bit of steam, lose a little bit of punch because the atmosphere has been worked over by this first round of thunderstorms. So we're watching that right about now. We're seeing that the severe thunderstorms are moving to the south and moving to the east. We're continuing to look at Holmes County. We're looking at Tuscarawas County. We're looking at Stark County as the next areas of seeing the severe storms move through. So we'll continue to move closer in here, just kind of track some of these. Now, if you're up in Cleveland, you're probably just seeing rain showers right about now. Cuyahoga Falls, Akron, rain showers, nothing really getting started there. Thank you. My producer has given me some information that 12,000 power outages in Richland County. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about these straight line wind gusts coming through here, and there were no tornado warnings in Richland County. This was all straight line wind damage and straight line wind reports of 12,000 power outages. And that's consistent with what we saw in southern Ohio earlier this afternoon and earlier this evening, thousands of power outages. So this is why we give you a heads up that these storms are going to roll through. If we would have downplayed it and said, nothing's going to happen, and you end up with 20,000 people with power outages, say, hey, where were our meteorologists to tell us this was going to go on and this is going to happen? So I know a lot of people here, if it's not going to be tornadic, I'm just going to roll my eyes and watch something else. But you have to be aware that these straight line winds certainly cause enough headaches and inconvenience as much as a tornado would, especially when they do the damage as well. So looking at this Bowen Hout segment, so we're probably really getting some really gusty winds with some of these. Let's see if we can't pull up velocity here and get some information on some of these winds. And that's not what I want. I don't want to see that. Let me clear that off of our information here. That's not what I'm wanting. I want to see if we can get an estimate of the winds in some of these storms here. Let's see if I can't hit this button here and see if that gives us what we want. There we go. Okay, 66 mile an hour gust just to the north of Walnut Creek and to the south of Salt Creek. So where we're seeing this pink anywhere just to the west of Worcester and just to the west of Salt Creek down towards Walnut Creek, these are probably 60 mile an hour gusts that are happening here. Here's a 72 mile an hour gust. So when we extrapolate that down to the ground, we're probably looking at about a 60, 65 mile an hour wind gust there. So we take off about 10 miles per hour here, and that gives us a good estimate. So maybe a 54 mile an hour gust just to the west of Salt Creek. So these storms certainly verifying as far as the gusty winds go. I want to scoot in even tighter so we can see exactly some of the areas that's seeing some of these wind gusts. So we're still looking at the severe thunderstorm warnings for Holmes and for Stark counties as well. And we're going to continue to query some of this information of some of these storms here. That's, again, not what I want here. Let's do this. Let's see what we got here. 64 mile an hour gust just to the south of Millersburg. 60 mile an hour wind gusts with some of these storms here. This is really the danger that we're talking about, are these wind gusts that are not, even if you're in your house and your windows are fine or what have you, you're probably seeing your power flicker on and off. And you're probably seeing power outages, again, depending on where you are. Let me get some more information here on, I want to query some more of this. So we've got a 65 mile an hour gust around Millersburg a 60-mile-an-hour gust around Holmesville. Around Shreve, we're looking at a 63-mile-an-hour gust. And that's just to the north of Kilbuck, to the east of Nashville and Ripley, to the west of Walnut Creek, right up 83. That's what we're looking at. Right up along the 83 corridor is where we're looking at some of these 60, 65-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So just know that these are verifying in what we thought that they would do in producing these very gusty winds. So I'm going to look and see if we still have this tornado warning that's in effect here, and it's 12:13, so they will probably allow this to expire, but we're going to continue to see. I'm not seeing that come up, so they probably have allowed that to go ahead and expire. So okay, I still see it there. They've not allowed to expire just yet. We're still looking at some gusty winds, though, with this storm. So it's still a severe thunderstorm warning here, and I'm talking about this storm in Holmes County. That's the storm that I'm talking about. That's tornadically warned. Right now, it is just to the east of Millersburg, headed towards Walnut Creek, around the Clark area, and it's moving into Tuscarawas County. So a heads up to Tuscarawas County. There is a storm moving towards the Strasburg, New Philly, and Bucks area. So we're looking at the tornado warning now, moving into Stark County, into Wayne County, Holmes County. So we're still looking at this continue. So it has not been expired just yet. We are seeing that that's the only one, thankfully. All of the other storms are severe thunderstorm warnings that, again, have the history of producing these very strong winds, with the 12,000 power outages that my producer Megan handed me in Richland County. Looking at some other information here. Okay, so the National Weather Service has expired the tornado warning for Holmes County, thankfully. So they're not seeing any longer that couplet that they were seeing earlier. And so we're just going to take you a little tour here on the radar before we let you go, let you know what's going on here. We are watching these severe thunderstorms move across northeast Ohio, Congress, Worcester, Salt Creek, over towards Walnut Creek. You are seeing some very strong gusty winds and some very heavy rainfall. Those are moving towards you into Stark County, Lawrence, Tuscarawas, Bethlehem, North Canton, Canton, Strasburg, Mineral City, down towards New Philly and Tuscarawas County, Strasburg and Tuscarawas County. You're going to see these storms move through Bucks, Newcomerstown. You're going to see these storms move through there within the next few minutes. I'm talking about within the next 15 to 20 minutes. And then once those move through there, they're going to head eastward. So just a heads up, these severe thunderstorms are moving eastward, and they have a history of power outages with gusty winds that we just saw up to 60 to 65, 66 plus miles per hour. So with that, since the tornado warning has expired, we've taken a little tour here of the radar. We're going to hop back off air. We're going to get you back to regular programming. But if another tornado warning comes back, we will come back on. Let me just see what this severe thunderstorm warning is. And this is the severe thunderstorm warning for Wayne County and Holmes County. So we're still looking at gusty winds in Holmes and Stark and Wayne counties as we go through the course of the evening. So once these move out here within the next, I'd say, hour or so, we'll just kind of watch and see what that batch up in Michigan does. If it dies out, then we're in the clear. If it continues to maintain its strength, then we'll watch that and we'll track that as well. So we'll get you back to regular programming, but we'll be back on here if we get another tornado warning.